I don't want to say that, residential rental properties is not a good long-term strategy, but you just have to know it's a business. It's not it's not something passive.
Yeah.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Deal by Deal podcast from 1912 Capital. I'm sitting here with the two brilliant minds behind 1912 Capital, Damon and Court, obviously.
Lexy is paid, just so you
They did not pay me to say that, I promise. No, I love talking with these guys. But yeah, so we're gonna dive into a very cool topic today, and let's just get right into it. And that is things that people typically consider to be passive investing that aren't actually. These things come with a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. So let's kind of dive into a couple of these first topics.
Yeah,
Damon?
absolutely. And I will say, Court, please take us away.
I hope you're gonna let me go first. No, that's perfect. Well, the title I wanted for this to be 12% while you sleep. So I think that is key, is that people think that they're
That's
getting...
your tagline, yes?
That's ours, yeah.
12% while you sleep.
That's why we want to differentiate, because people think they're getting passive investment when they're really not. And I've experienced this firsthand. I've done a lot of different real estate investing, specifically thinking it was passive, right? And in some ways it is, because you could say it's passive in the sense that you don't have to be there every day all the time. But a lot of it is a lot of work, even though it's passive, So from rentals to Airbnbs to, all kinds of real estate investing, even if you've got property managers, I think they're a lot of work personally.
Yeah. So let's start with the first one, which is single family homes, Airbnbs specifically.
Yeah.
Why are these not actually the passive income that people think it's going to be?
Well, I think that we'll start with single family rentals, like long-term rentals.
Yeah.
You think you get somebody, you put them in the house, you get signing 1-year lease. You think
You've done it.
I've done it. Yep, I've done it. In fact, the first rental I put together, I signed up and it ended up going bad, and ended up having to give the lady her earnest money or her security deposit back, even though she was not completing the lease. And the house is trashed, and I had my attorney sign something that said everything was, or create a document for me that she could sign that she was
Not suing you.
Yeah, not going to sue you, all that kind of fun stuff. And he said, okay, I will do this for you, and I'm going to do it for you for free. But here's another document I want you to sign. And it said, you will never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, do residential real estate renting ever again.
Your attorney forced you out of the industry.
And I can't say that I've completely kept that. Don't sue me. But no, it because it becomes, if you're trying to rent, manage it yourself, which a lot of people think that they can do. Oh, it's, how long can this take? Anytime something goes wrong, and that can be something that they caused, maybe they, flush something down the toilet and now the toilet's backed up. And so you got to send somebody out there, and it's like, well, why am I paying for this when you clog the toilet, or, the light bulb went out and they think that that's your responsibility, or, they didn't pay their rent on time. And so you're chasing them down to get the rent.
Yep.
And, everybody's got their horror stories if you've had any kind of rentals in the past. And it's just something that you think is going to be, mailbox money. You're just going to get this check every month, and, somebody else is going to pay my mortgage, and I'm going to get all this appreciation. And I mean, overall, I think the strategy works. I don't want to say that, residential rental properties is not a good long-term strategy, but you just have to know it's a business. It's it's not something passive.
Yeah, it's really not passive.
It's a business. And then you have to manage the taxes, and are you depreciating the property? And then when you depreciate the property, how are you dealing with recapture? And if you decide to sell a property, how do you, deal with the taxes on that? And, making sure that the insurance is paid, and, property taxes. There's just a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
And so, I think that's a rude awakening for a lot of people. And so the natural next step is to say, okay, well, then I'm a property manager. And you want to talk about how that works?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think so. I'll shift maybe to the next one you mentioned was Airbnbs.
Yeah.
Because I've dealt with Airbnbs personally, where I've managed them. And that is a huge, huge endeavor to manage them yourself.
Yeah.
From cleaning's probably the biggest thing that is a nightmare, I had some cabins up in northern Arizona where you couldn't get cleaners, that I'd drive an hour and a half to go get a cleaner because I couldn't get the person that was going to clean it to answer the phone or whatever, so that type of thing. Second is property managers, like you mentioned, which then you may have a property manager that then you can't get a hold of the property manager, or you have to manage the property manager, even though, or they want to run everything by you. So then I'm like, well, wait a second. If I'm
You're supposed to
still
be
going
doing
through
this.
all of this.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
I still have to deal with the broken toilet, or right now it's the missing gas grill or whatever. You know what I mean? So there's always something.
Yeah.
So there's just not true passivity would be the word that I would use that you're
Right.
going to get from most real estate
Are
investing.
you making up words now?
No, that's a real
Passivity
word.
a word?
That's a real
I
word.
think you made that up.
And we're talking here not about things that are good versus bad or hard versus easy. We're talking about the word passivity, as you just said. So a lot
Active
of these
versus passive.
There you go.
Yeah.
A lot of these things, if you want to have an Airbnb, if you want to have a
Right.
single family home that you're renting, and this is
Well-
something that you're gonna be happy to do,
Yeah.
then great. But if you're looking for 12% while you sleep,
then
you're not gonna
that's where
get
you
this
wanna come
from
to
that. That's
us.
why you come to you guys.
Or
Yeah.
invest in a fund where you truly trust and know the operators, I would say too. One other thing David mentioned, which I want to go back to too, is we're not, we don't hate real estate.
No,
I
we
still
love real
think,
estate.
I still think real estate is the
We
best
have real estate
investment
holdings,
you're
yeah.
ever going to make in your life.
Mhm.
It's going to continue to appreciate.
Yep.
There's never going to be more land made.
Yep.
It's always going to be a good investment long term.
Yep.
May not be short term, but long term it's going to be a great investment. But there's just work to it. So that's
Yes.
what we want to be clear on.
Yes.
Some
No, I
other
love
things
that.
I want to talk about too were things like stocks. If we can
Yeah.
spend a few minutes there.
Let's
Stocks
talk
or
about
trading.
stock trading. Yeah. So
'Cause
why
I've done that too.
why do people think, okay, this is going to be passive, I'm going to make money while I'm sleeping, but it's actually really not? Like,
Yeah.
what's the misconception there?
Well, I mean, and it just depends how you do it, right? So there are scenarios where it is truly passive, and I've done that too, where with stocks you can get passive, or mutual funds or whatever, but you have no knowledge really of your operators other than what's printed or written, right?
Yeah.
And that's what worries me with stocks or mutual funds. Is mutual fund you really don't know, because it's just you're buying an industry, right? It's just this huge lump basket of whatever you read about the industry. An individual stock, which I've done really well with individual stocks actually too, but again, it's just based on what data is available from the company, right? What's publicly reported. Other than that, you have no control at all over what happens.
It's
or
just kind of
what's-
out there and
yeah.
either happening without
Yeah.
your
So you really can't research too much into like the market and the neighborhood and like you can with real estate. So to me, those are kind of trade-offs that yes, you get more passivity. Again, using my word. I don't know if it's real.
We're going with it.
We're going with it.
Somebody Google it.
But you just don't have any knowledge or control.
Yeah.
Well, and I also want to put the full disclaimer out there. We're not financial advisors.
No, that's
we,
true.
We can't advise you on how you invest in stocks. And a lot of people think,
your money.
buying mutual funds and stocks, and that it is very passive, and it's a long-term growth play. And it does work. Stocks, the one thing about a stock, a company can go out of business. That stock can go all the way down to zero.
Yeah.
With real estate, at least, you always will have something.
It's never going to be completely
It's never
worthless.
going to be completely worthless.
Yeah.
And it's tangible. You can go touch it, feel it,
Yep.
taste it,
See
smell
it,
it, in
stand
some
on it.
cases,
Yeah.
if you want to.
So let's talk about flipping, because I think this is so popular right now. This is like the new flashy thing.
absolutely.
Everybody thinks,
Well, hey.
I could flip a house. My husband's handy, or I like to decorate. Let's buy a house and flip it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's part of our industry, right? Because we finance flippers.
Yeah, and everybody can flip. We just want to say that. If you want to be a flipper, we'll help you learn how to.
Okay. No, I love that.
But it's not passive.
it's
Not passive. Okay, there we
It's
go.
not
Yes.
easy.
This is the point of what we're talking
Yeah.
about. You can do it, but it's not not easy.
And it's not a side gig, right?
Yeah.
It's not something that you're going to go work your 9 to 5 and then from 5 to 7 going to go, work on the house for 2 hours a day and have it be done in,
3
30
months.
days.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. And so in that case, if you don't have time to do that, you're going to hire a contractor. Well, guess what? You got to manage that contractor. You got to make sure that they're there doing what they say that they're doing, that they actually got the work done that they're invoicing you for. And
Yep.
are you going to buy the materials or are they going to buy the materials? And then, who's going to, pull the permits? Who's doing the design work? Who's picking the colors? Who's doing, everything that goes into flipping a house is a great way to make a lot of money. And we have a lot of flippers that do very, very well, but it's because they run it like a business.
Yeah.
Right. They are, constantly, they've got their crews, whether they're working directly for them or whether they have contractors that they work with on a continual basis so they can get things done quickly. They will go in and they'll figure out what color palettes or flooring works really well, and so they'll buy enough to do 5 houses so they get a better deal on it instead of just one house.
There you
go. Things like that.
But but they are very active.
and they're very active, and
Yes.
they call you, they're calling us like every day, what about this, what about that? And I mean, it's constant. You're constantly working, and it's fantastic. It is a lot of fun. It's great to take something that's old and nasty
And make it beautiful.
and have it, or go into these old neighborhoods and take these old homes and bring them back to life so that and get
Give 'em
create
second
affordable housing
Yeah.
for people. And
Yep.
so there's so much positive that goes into it. There's really no bad thing that I can say about it other than it's
Work.
It's work. It's not passive. There's no passivity
Yes.
in flippingivity. There's no passivity in flippivity.
I like that. Yeah, I think it's the mindset that we're talking about here. It's that's great if you want to flip a house and it's a pet project or it's a passion project.
Right.
This is something you want to put time, effort, love into. But yeah, it's not going to happen for you while you're sleeping. This isn't something that's money is just going to be pouring into your bank account while you do nothing.
Yeah.
So let's.
And I would say if you want to do,
Yeah.
the after work type deal, that you should live in it. And then that's not our guy, but that's because then you also get the tax deduction, tax break, right? Where you can sell and not have the primary residence.
As long as you're willing to live in a half done house.
Half-baked
Yeah,
house,
exactly.
yeah.
But
And your spouse
is willing to live in a house, which I've done. My poor wife,
Oh.
many times, but
But-
and that's a great strategy for people. A lot of people do that where they live in it for 2 years, sell, get the tax break, do it again, buy one, live in it 2 years. So.
And I think if you want that active where you're pouring into something and maybe you and your spouse are doing it together, or
Yeah.
you have a business that this is what you do, then it's fun and it's engaging and you get to really put your mark on it and all those beautiful things that you talked about. Yeah, it's just not that passive income that people think it's going to be. Okay, so Damon, this is something else that you are going to speak to, which is commercial development.
Yeah, and this I would say I started my career as a commercial real estate developer and building shopping centers and office buildings back when building office buildings was actually a thing, and things like that. And certainly, as a developer, I mean, it's like being a flipper on steroids, right? Because you're starting from nothing. You're starting from raw ground. You've got to come up with everything. So that's certainly not passive. I don't think anybody would think that would be a passive thing or something that you can do on the side, although people do try to do it on the side.
Badly, usually.
Yeah, poorly. Yeah. But, you can invest in those projects, and that is passive. It truly is passive. I think the differentiator between what we do as a what we provide for passive investors versus something like that is ours is a fixed rate of return. So you know exactly how much you're going to get. It's continuous. You're making it every day. It's not a projected return. Obviously our return is not guaranteed, but it's not a projected return where if the property does really well, you're going to make, 25 or 30%. But if it doesn't do quite as well, then maybe you're only going to make 10%. So you know exactly what it is. You can take the money each month. You truly can be that mailbox money that you thought you were getting when you had that residential rental property. And so that's really the main difference, because commercial real estate development, or really any type of development, is a long-term play. It's usually it's spending money for several years before maybe then you finally get the property built and then stabilized, and then then maybe it starts to cash flow and you make a little bit, but really you don't make any real return until that property is sold. So it's just such a long-term investment.
And it's
It's a long game.
just a different risk, different return.
Different risk profile.
And there's such a thing as a capital call that may come along too.
Right,
Which is a
right.
bad thing
Right.
you never want, where
Oh.
if you're too short on the property plan, then all the investors have to put in even more money than they. So there's that, which we don't have in 1912. So, those are differences in investment that are important.
This is not a commercial for 1912.
No.
Kind of. So we're just pointing out, we're just comparing and contrasting.
Yeah.
The passivity of these.
Passivity. No, I think this is so interesting. Damon, you got into this a little bit about how 1912 truly is that 12% while you sleep and the passive versus active aspects of it. Is there anything else you want people watching to know about this? And maybe they're a little bit interested and they're like, how can you really?
Yeah, and even inside the investment into private lender space, there are different ways that do it. We have colleagues that will take an investor and line them up with a specific deal, a specific loan. So they underwrite a property, the borrower needs to borrow $100,000. They will go get an investor to give the $100,000 and put it in that investor's name and say, okay, here's your deal. And sometimes they'll service it, sometimes they won't. sometimes if, the deal goes bad, it's dependent upon the investor to go in and foreclose or, so that is, less passive, right? Because you're having, some people think that's more secure.
It's passive.
You might think it's more secure because
it's not.
you're the one that's holding the note specifically on that deal. But if the borrower stops paying, then you're the one that has to deal with that.
Yep.
Our investors invest into a fund. So they give the money to 1912 Capital. It's a pooled fund. And then we just take that money and we loan that money out in 1912 Capital's name so that they're not involved in anything. They're not involved in any type of underwriting. They're not involved in any type of servicing. They're not involved in any types of collections, foreclosure if it goes to that. And we think not only is we think that the best way to do it from a passive standpoint, but just from an overall safety standpoint, because you're
diversified.
You're diversified. You're not putting your faith in one deal. You're putting your faith in all of these deals.
Yep.
And for us, our investors make, it's a range, 10 to 12%, 12% depending on how much money they put in. No matter whether the money is lent or not, no matter, what's going on there, that 12% is just that clock is constantly ticking. So it becomes incumbent upon us.
We're going to get it lent.
Yeah, it becomes incumbent upon us to get the money lent and to make good deals so that we can continue to afford to make those payments because they're gonna be required whether or not we've got the money lent out or not. So it really is the only truly passive way to get mailbox money in real estate that we know of.
Where you truly have real estate assets backed. So just nice.
Yep, you get all the benefits of the tangible real estate backed things, touch it, feel it, taste it, all that kind of stuff. But you're not involved in anything.
Yeah. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, we've kind of failed at the passive side because we've built this
because we've built a business. Right? Our passivity is terrible.
For our investors, it's very passive.
Yes.
So, and we're happy. We love the business. So that's, I think, Damon, I won't speak for him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a great business.
I love the business. I think it's been fabulous. I think it will continue to be fabulous for years. And so we're going to end with a deal that I'm going to put Damon on the spot. He has to do a deal because I did the last deal. You got one in mind?
I was going to say we're called deal by deal. So okay, let's hear a good deal.
Yeah. So this actually is a commercial real estate development deal.
Oh, good.
Fits the theme.
Yeah. Excuse me. I'm getting all choked up here.
Verklempt.
No. It was a piece of property that we bought and. Timing, I don't want to take full credit for this because the timing was just absolutely perfect. The market absolutely just took off while we were in the middle of building this. But we bought 8.5 acres, built about a 60,000 square foot shopping center in Goodyear and
Arizona.
Goodyear in Arizona. Yep, in Arizona. It was anchored by a discount store because it was kind of in a transitional area, I'd call it. It was anchored by a discount store. But anyway, long story short,
Not Kmart.
But the store.
How old are you?
The store is no longer in business. So,
okay.
They were publicly traded at the time. Anyway, we got.
Well, there's going to be guesses in the comments of what.
Guess in the comments to what the store was. What's up?
It was 99 cents only. They were.
Okay.
So which man, I'll tell you what. When we opened that store, it was when we did the grand opening. It was so funny. The gentleman that had started 99 cents only was still talk about not passive. He was still heavily involved. We we did the ribbon cutting. We had the mayor there. We're walking around. I was like 24. I'm like, hey, come on, mayor. Like I knew what I was talking about. We're showing him around. We're all done. And my partner and I, we turn, we're walking out the door and he yells at us, well, I hope you have some other good tenants. And we're like, what? And he's like, aren't you going to come over here and help us bag these groceries? He literally made us come back over. He was standing there bagging stuff. He made us come back over and help and bag customers' groceries and stuff. It was
It became an active investment.
What? And it was an active investment. But anyway,
very
Let's hear about the deal.
So, but that was a divergence. But so that deal, we went to a bank. We were able to get bank financing. This is prior to today. I don't think we would have got actually. Today I think we would have had to go to private money lender. But we went to a community bank. We were able to get financing. We had to put $1 million in the deal. We got investors. We put the $1 million in. And just as it was finishing up, somebody came to us and said, "Hey, we want to buy your shopping center." And we said, "Well, it's not for sale. We just got finished up. It's not even stabilized yet." And they came back and
You spent about $8 million.
Yeah, we spent about we spent about $6 million building it plus the land. So we were in it for about $7 million. Okay, so including the $1 million investment. They came back a second time, said we've looked around, we really want to buy your shopping center. We said, well, it's not for sale. And so they went off and looked around. They came back a third time and said, hey, we have this 1031 exchange money. Clock is ticking. We can't find anything. We've got to identify something. We really want to buy your property.
They probably had already identified your property.
Yeah, maybe. So I threw out a ridiculous number, $11 million, way more than I thought it was worth. And he said, okay, we'll take it. And so we took, in about 18-month time frame, we turned $1 million into $4 million of profit.
Wow.
And, again, timing was perfect. Like, it wasn't anything that we did. It wasn't, what we did was
you picked the
we
location.
did.
Yeah.
We had a solidly underwritten property that was well built in a good location with good tenants, nationally recognized tenants. And that's why he wanted it so bad. But the market had taken off. Cap rates had plummeted. So we were able to sell it at a cap rate that we hadn't anticipated when we started. So that one was a home run. And,
That's awesome.
really solidified my love of commercial real estate development. I love commercial real estate development. But,
No,
they don't all come out that way.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
Well, no, that is a pretty good deal. I mean, of all the deals that I've heard, they've all been good, but that one,
That's a great deal.
that's a pretty
good
good
deal. That
deal.
was a fun
But no, this was a great conversation. Thank you both so much.
Yeah.
And if
thanks, Lexy.
anybody watching has a great deal that they want to share with us, you can apply to be on the show, because we'd love to hear about it, at dealbydealpodcast.com, or you can find us on YouTube. We're going to try to get some more podcasts out for you guys to enjoy, and you can always find and learn more about 1912 Capital at 1912capital.com. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Lexi. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.